Welcome to Try This at Home. I'm Cliff Bumgardner.
And I am still Harrison Stewart.
Our myths this week are personal jetpack and
Yay.
pyramid power.
Just two.
It originally aired January 19th, 2005, produced by our buddy Andrew Farrell, and written, this is interesting, by Martin Ives and Dan Tapster, two names that we have started to see as of late. But as far as I know, this is the first episode where they're credited as writers. In previous episodes, we've talked about this in the past, they're credited as post-producers, which we kind of had to figure out meant writers. This time it says written by Martin Ives and Dan Tapster. So there are some changes going on behind the scenes, it feels like. Very curious to know what was behind some of the credit changes. Also, Peter Rees has been removed, or has been moved, I should say, to just like show created and developed by. So it seems like he may or may not have been hands-on at this point in the show. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of change-ups going on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
as the show
keep an eye on.
Yeah, and the show just keeps getting better. So whatever they were doing, it seemed to be working.
It's working. Keep doing it.
It's
working.
And that takes us nicely to overall thoughts, because I only had one overall note for this episode, and it's shocking that it has taken me this long into this season to think about this.
Okay.
Adam has gotten so good. I just noticed in this episode.
At what?
Well, just at being
Just in general?
at being a TV host. Like, he was always funny and engaging, and the person that we've talked a million times about, the personality and the way that all that comes through with everybody on the show. But if something about this episode, I think it was breaking down the specifics of the jetpack and some of the science and the engineering and this crazy build. This is the biggest build we've seen yet on the show, and it's crazy. But something about his performance, for lack of a better term, in this episode, I just went, wow, Adam has channeled that quirky, fun silliness that he has into the show in a way now that's like, it took me back to when we talked to him and he talked about just trying to be yourself on camera. It feels like he's, I don't know when over the last season that he's just arrived there, but this episode, I just felt like, damn, Adam is really good. And I enjoyed this so much.
Yeah, I feel like it's been such a seamless transition that I don't know that I necessarily even noticed, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? Like, that means that all of the work was being done subconsciously. And now that you've pointed it out, I definitely agree. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. And everyone has had that change, but I feel like Jamie has kind of always been Jamie. And we just met the build team in earnest this season. So Adam is the one who really stood out to me. But yeah, I loved this episode. I like the twofer episodes. I like when there's just two. Everything gets time. Nothing felt rushed. I also love, and we'll talk about this when we get there, I am a fan of how not seriously they take the pyramid myth.
Me too.
And they just mock it. It is in this episode for ha-has, and that is it. And they contrast it with the hard science of the jetpack. It made for a really funny episode to me.
Just thoroughly satisfying.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like they're really on a roll with this stretch where just each successive episode is definitely as good as the last, if not better.
And very different each episode. It feels like we haven't been back over. We've had some similar territory, but really we're seeing a whole bunch of like different new categories of ways to do myths, ways to ask and answer questions. Yeah, this was great. Myth 1, personal jetpack. Can you build your very own personal jetpack? And I want to say at the top, for point of discussion, am I wrong? Or when they first introduced this, do they not frame it as a jetpack made out of household objects? Isn't it framed as a very DIY sort of setup? Because this ain't where this ultimately goes. But I felt like when I looked back at my notes, like in the beginning, it felt very much like, can you do this at home with a couple of screwdrivers? And it's like, that's actually not where this goes at all. It is more just about, can you build it based on these ridiculous plans that they get off the internet?
Yeah. I think I might be confusing it with the last time they did this.
Yeah.
The hoverboard one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It
Because
is similar.
that was like all homemade. I didn't notice that, but I think it's specifically because it wasn't a head-to-head situation. Like there wasn't a competition. They were just building one. And like you said, I think it was largely supposed to be based on these kind of ridiculous plans.
Yeah. Were you waiting for the competition? Because I definitely was. And when it got to the point where I was like, oh no, they're going to spend their time building one device really well, I actually liked that change because we've seen a lot of competitions recently.
Yeah, I think I got so caught up in when they specified what a jetpack is, and I like couldn't let that go. Like that just consumed my brain for the entirety. Like when they were like, "Well, that's actually not a jetpack because it doesn't have a jet engine." I was like, I thought it was just the name for any old thing that you strap on your back that shoots you into the sky. I had no idea that there were like so many different. They're like, "Well, that's a rocket pack." I'm like, what is the difference?
Right?
Well, it's because it uses a rocket, stupid. It's like, okay.
It was
Fine.
That was one thing I thought was weird that they made that such a distinction in the episode because really what this comes in, it's an episode about flying machines. Really. I mean, they show a bunch of different types. They go to you see that like real life Jetsons car and like all the stuff that they end up going into. Like it really was just about flying machines. I thought it was interesting that they spent so much time talking about rocket pack versus jetpack versus it's a jetpack. You strap it on your back,
helicopter pack. It's all a jetpack.
That's a jetpack.
Thank you. It's all a jetpack. I am not an aviation guy. You can add that to the list of things I'm not a guy of.
The T-shirt just keeps getting longer every week.
Right. In this house, we are not science guys, aviation guys, general hygiene guys. Like, I'm not good at any of it. But no, I was very much under the impression that anything that you strap on your back, which sends you, is in fact a jetpack. They were very clear that that is not the case. I would argue maybe you gotta be. I'll accept that from someone who experiences liftoff. How about that?
Yeah.
If you can fly in that thing, you can call it whatever you like, and you can dictate that to me. Until that happens, that's a jetpack, sucker. Pure and simple. I don't want to hear otherwise.
Cliff's Fun Time Flying Machine. Can I call it that if I can get it off the ground?
If you can get it off the ground, yes. You can call it.
You trying to think of something just the right level of offensive?
Nothing is, and nothing is gonna get by. Nothing's gonna get by the censor.
Trying to thread.
Nothing that's coming. A lot of the things I was cycling through included the word gaping. The point is that you can call it what you like. It does not matter. Because you made it fly, and that's your right as the flying man to call it whatever you want.
I did really like we talked. It's been a while since we had this on the show, but we've talked about before that this adds a nice element that they specifically say what their budget is. They said they have $10,000 and a month to pull this off, which when I at first thought that it was like a more of a DIY thing, I was like, $10,000 seems like a lot of money. But when you see the thing that they ultimately make, the fact that they made that for 10 grand, I know it doesn't.
They got it as steel.
Yeah, I know it doesn't really work that well, but still, it's amazing that they built that thing as a function. It is a functional machine. Like the machine, it just doesn't.
Is a functional machine.
You know, the plans could never actually make it do what it claimed to do, but like, pretty impressive.
Which is why, so I'm glad that they stuck with what they set out to do.
Yeah.
Which is specifically build something based on these plans. Did you throughout the episode yearn for each of them to build their own flying devices? That's what I kept wanting.
Yeah.
Was just ditch the plans. I want to see how Jamie would do this. I want to see how Adam would do this. And I want to see both of them in action. I really do. I don't feel good about Adam's, but it would look incredible. That's not up for debate. Whether or not it does what it's supposed to, it's going to be the best looking thing ever.
You know what that just made me realize as you were saying that? Because we've seen so many competitions over the season, which are great. It's a great addition to the show. oftentimes when it's not a competition, the way that they sort of handle it on the show to get some conflict is it becomes Adam and Jamie arguing about it the whole time. At least as edited, this is one of the smoothest processes we've seen them have. Like,
yeah, I think
they
so.
actually, what's cool about this is you get to see them both play to their strengths and make this thing. Like, yeah, I would have loved to have seen them each do their own thing and like what that would be. But given how big this was, it took both of their skill sets just to bring it to fruition. And we got to see that. We got to see them work together really well, which is nice because they're not leaning into some of the conflict and some of the, this guy said this and this guy said this about you.
There's no pissing in the ear, as it were.
Precisely.
I also just gave Adam a lot of crap for the fact that he executes what he's supposed to do pretty flawlessly. They gave me the parameters and they're like, it has to be within like this percentage of an inch.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not going to work.
Yeah,
and
those
then
cowlings.
Adam just did it.
Yeah.
He just does it like beautifully, perfectly.
The cowlings are what you're talking about. They have to make that the blade has to be within like however many fractions of an inch on the inside to create the right amount of lift. And he does it out of foam and it's just perfect.
Describe what this thing looks like for those who didn't do their homework. Please.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, one, I will say as I get into that, it was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
A lot bigger.
When they start describing this, so the way it's originally described as basically a backpack helicopter with two engines with two rotors, and they say it's only going to use a 60 horsepower engine to create the thrust, but it can lift a 200-pound pilot. So when I heard that, and they spent a lot of time talking about we need a smaller engine, we need a lighter engine, which all makes sense. But when I heard all that, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is like, I'm picturing jetpack. I'm picturing James Bond, Rocketeer.
Ah, you got it.
Oh, I got your Bond reference in there
I was
for
waiting.
you.
Yeah, I was waiting. Because this thing does look damn near identical to the one in From Russia with Love.
Exactly.
Like, it is very similar.
Well, I was
to
thinking
the 60s old school over the shoulder with the little toggles.
And that's another reason, as I said, it really ends up looking more like a flying machine than a jetpack. It is.
Yeah, I agree.
It's one of those like old timey flying machine type contraptions, but it's huge with these giant cowlings out to either side with the rotors in them. Just like a massive contraption, which I was not expecting the whole episode. It just kept getting bigger.
Which is interesting because I don't think they ever, at no point did they seem that concerned with the question of like, how easy is this to just lug around? Like it's never free from like the safety harnesses, which they're right, you know, like don't they're in the right here. But at the same time, I was like, I do wonder how easily this thing can just, how easily you can pack around with it.
I had made a note. I wanted to give them crap for something, but then I think I saw the explanation. I wanted to give them crap for the fact that yet again, they're doing this testing indoors. So it's a flying machine, and yet they test it inside. But then I noticed
with a roof
through the cracked door, you could see it was raining outside. So I think,
look at you.
I think that's what happened on this. Because the whole time I was like, I know it's going to be tethered, right? They're gonna like they did with Adam in the lawn chair with the balloons. They're not actually going to let this thing take off, but
send him into the stratosphere.
Exactly. But I was like, at least for the visual for television, you do it outside. But I think that's probably what it was. So I'll give them that one. There's other times they have blown stuff up indoors that I still find questionable. But in this case, I'll give them this one.
They were not near a box of toys and dinosaur parts. I will begrudgingly allow them the point.
But that actually brings me to something I wanted to talk about. You know how I love the little details in the background? This has been an obsession of mine.
Yes.
This is the first time where we got to see the production office. When they're talking about some of the research on this and trying to put the plans together, they actually cut to like the writer's room production office with all their plans around. And I just started noting things down. Number one, I think it's Andrew Farrell at the table.
I was going to ask about
When
that.
they first
I
cut
was
in.
like, I don't know who that is, and I'm not going to look it up because Cliff will.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure that is Andrew at the table. Obviously, this was 20 years ago, so the footage is is SD, so I wasn't completely sure. But the other thing was on the wall, they had their like cork board of episode ideas. And I paused it. There were a few on there that we've seen. I think I saw like Salsa Escape or something. You can see their thing mapped out. But here are some ones that I wrote down that I could make out. I think I got these correct. Again, it's SD. It's hard to tell.
Can't wait.
Not only have we not seen them yet, I don't remember these. So these may be lost myths that we have just discovered. The first one I saw said J60 swing set.
Well, that's a sex thing, for sure.
That's just Jamie's swing set.
Yes. Yeah, the J is for Jamie.
I do think
Jamie's masochistic swing set.
I do think that one maybe comes back because as I just said that, I did not remember this when I was writing it down, but as I just said that, I remembered something about a rocket-powered swing set happening at some point on the show.
I vaguely recall that as well.
So maybe that one does actually come back.
To see if you can. It's something about if you can go all the way around.
If you can loop it on a chain.
Swinging. Yeah. No,
I think that's a build team myth because I think I remember Tori hurting himself on the swing set.
Okay, now I definitely remember it. That's definitely one of them.
So maybe that was in the works at this point. We'll see when that if and when that comes up on the show.
Keep an eye out for Jamie's masochistic swing set.
Perfect. The next one was hybrid car rescue.
Huh?
Which is interesting. This is very early for discussion of hybrid vehicles. And I don't know what hybrid car rescue.
We are in San Francisco.
And Jamie had an electric car.
Early for the rest of the world. About right for San Francisco.
And remember, Jamie had that electric car engine that he pulled out for the elevator myth. So he's been working on that.
He's been exposed.
So I don't know.
He's in it. Okay.
The last one is my favorite.
Very good.
The card said simply, "The Great Gas Conspiracy."
That's all you have?
That's all it was.
I have to know.
I know. What? I want to know so bad. I don't know. I don't know if that's one that people might be yelling at their phones right now going, "Oh, yeah, it's a famous myth that I just don't remember." But
it definitely has to do with farts. I feel fairly safe that we can confirm that.
You would hope.
Great gas? It's not just any gas. We all know which gas is great.
Yeah. So
the ones from the bum.
Some nice little Easter eggs. I'm going to keep my eye out for more of those as the show goes on, and also for those myths as they maybe crop up. But that was very exciting for me to get to actually see that little glimpse behind the scenes of how they were putting the show together.
Is there a way to combine all of them?
Oh.
A gas-powered swing?
I guess that would be...
I've already forgotten the middle one.
It was hybrid, so it's like a half gas-powered swing.
Okay. Yes. Can we make a gas-powered sex swing? Yes or no? Find out on today's Mythbusters.
And Jamie just goes, "Oh, I already have one of those. I had it in the back of the shop. Here, let me pull it out."
Yeah, he's like, "I've been waiting 27 years for this day." 27? Why 27? What?
We mentioned this earlier that they go throughout the episode. I thought it was really fun where they see all these they go to like an aviation museum and they go see these other flying machines that have been made. I don't have a great point about this, but I just had to make note of the fact that the guy who shows them around the museum is named Northeast West.
Yeah.
That's his actual name.
And Ryan Lee's line was
Robert. You mean our friend Robert?
Robert, thank you. You'll edit that out, I hope. Keep him in good standing. Robert Lee. I think I'm just subconsciously rebelling, no pun intended, against saying Robert Lee.
Oh yeah.
Again, being in the South, I'm just like, it can't be that.
Well, what's funny that made me think of is for some reason one of our last YouTube shorts we put up, go follow us on YouTube at Slugline Media. You can find some fun clips from the show. But one of our last shorts we put up, somebody left a comment. And
Hell yeah. Hit me.
it just said, R.I.P. Ryan Dunn. I don't know why. That has nothing to do with Mythbusters or this podcast. But
So not only that, that's my cousin, and I don't know what he means. that is my first cousin once removed. And I have no idea. It's not an in joke. It's not like I didn't do the work to look up who Ryan Dunn is. Why would I do that? Again, I'm not a work guy.
So
right?
so Ryan Dunn was one of the guys on Jackass who died?
Right.
Yeah, that's Ryan Dunn. But wait, so to be clear, the commenter was your cousin.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Because it sent me the notification, and I was like, all right, thanks, Wood. Appreciate that. I don't want to out him. Well, it's a public post. It's fine.
Oh, he did it. Yeah. It's out there on the internet.
Yeah. So maybe he's calling me a jackass, which you're not wrong. Hey, we've listed a lot of things I'm not. I am a jackass guy.
We found
Specifically a jackass guy.
We found it.
A jag.
A jag.
A jag, if I may. If I may. It's fine if I mayn't, but if I may. And that's okay. Yeah, I that confused me for 5 minutes straight, and then I jettisoned it from my mind. So the do you think so? There were two separate guys. I believe they went to a few different places. There was northeast. What I was saying about Robert, his line is like, but like, what happened to South?
Yeah, northeast west. What happened to South?
And it's a good conversational style. It didn't sound like something that he would say. Like, I don't know how else to put it. I mean, he did say it, so it is something he would say. But
he doesn't normally comment quite so directly, like on specific lines or things that have come out of the show. Yeah, that's true.
Right. But having said that, I am of the opinion that at least one of the guys, not Mr. Northeast West or whichever combination of those things.
Yeah.
But there was another guy, and I think this guy is full of it.
Oh, is this guy with the Moeller Sky Car?
That's the guy with the Moeller. I think his name is Moeller.
His name's Moeller. He's the designer of this Sky Car that he says 90% of the population will have one of these within 25 years.
In how long?
25 years.
25. So we do still have 5 years.
We got 5 to go.
We got 5 years to find out if Mr. Mueller is full of it. And I personally, I will reserve judgment. Until the 5-year period. A lot can happen in 5 years, Cliff. A lot can happen.
Or until the end of this episode where Jamie makes the ultimate point that there's no way in hell flying machines are going to become normal because they're so incredibly dangerous that who's going to take that risk for day-to-day travel? So
stop. When has danger ever been a concern of ours here? When in America have we let danger stop us even once?
It depends on the level of danger, I think.
Does it?
Wolf, hey, we got 5 years to find out. We got 5 years
to find out. We got 5 years to come out.
You can be on Mulder's marketing team, you know? We'll see.
If you know, people start sprinkling down on your rooftop, you'll know he's made it. He did it.
Exactly. Our man, Mueller.
Zooming about.
He was right the whole time. We shouldn't have questioned him. Yeah,
we shouldn't have questioned him. 5 years for 90% of the population to do anything? That's not that much. You know, you can convince 90% of people to switch over entirely to something else in 5 years.
Man,
right?
In 5 years, I'm going to be shocked if we have Waymo. All right. Like, we have seen in modern day.
Topical, Mr. Bumgardner. My goodness.
How long it takes for this kind of technology to get rolled out. So it was hilarious to watch this man be like, my flying machine will be in every home.
And even less time for people to figure out how to light it on fire. Well done, ladies, gentlemen, and everything within and without. Well done.
We should talk about the actual test here because this is what
I thought you were going to say we should talk about LA. I was like, no, we shouldn't.
No, I think
we shouldn't.
I'm going to power right through
we're
it.
going to fly right on over that.
I'm going to get in my Moeller Sky car.
There it is.
And go right over to that topic that I don't want to talk about.
It. It was also driving me nuts that he didn't just name it the Cloud Car.
Right.
Because it looks identical to the cloud cars from Star Wars. Like if you've seen Empire and you've seen Cloud City, like,
did you notice?
It looks exactly like one of those.
Did you notice the other one in the background that looked exactly like the Jetsons car?
Yeah, I was dying.
Like they didn't even talk about it, but it's just in the background the whole time.
They didn't even talk about it, and that drove me nuts because, you're going to start with your technical plans from a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Go on. I want to hear what you had. I want to hear him. I want to hear what he has to say.
Hear him
Don't interrupt him. Don't interrupt him. Let him finish.
Let him cook. Let him cook, as the kids say.
The man kook. And kook he did. Kook he did. He kooked everywhere.
Oh, we have the ultimate kook still to come, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around.
My new favorite character.
I thought Moeller was going to be the craziest person we saw this episode. Not by a long shot.
He's not even close.
No.
That's the wild thing.
No.
This is such a nutty episode that the man with the fake flying cars is not even close to the craziest person
the man
in this episode.
With the real life Jetsons car is the one that we're going, hear him out, hear him out, hear him out.
Yeah. Him, I'll hear out. Triangle boy.
But for the actual testing in this myth, I was so excited. We talked about this a little bit last week. You finally got...
Triangulad. Sorry. Triangulad is obviously what I should have gone for.
That's really
good.
You
keep going with the show, though.
Well, we will...
The real thing
we will get to Triangulad.
I'll save that. Yeah, man.
Yeah, we'll just pretend it was the first time. I'll definitely cut that out. It'll be fine.
Everybody in the audience, pretend like you're hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Go nuts in your 4-star review. Really let me know how much you love the Triangulad. Keep going with what you were doing, though.
You finally got to see Buster 2.0.
I did.
So you were
this
out.
Was the first for me.
It was the episode when I believe it was when Chris Lee was on. They rebuilt Buster in an all new form because he was in pieces in like a bucket, I think, by the time.
I hate it when that happens.
So I'm curious to what did you think of the new pink fleshy Buster?
He's terrifying.
Yeah, right.
I did actually I see why he is worshipped as a deity now. I just didn't realize it was such an angry god. And he is. Buster, believe you me, he's angry.
They didn't show it, I believe, in this episode, but one of when they rebuilt him with some features that makes him a little bit easier for them to use, to take apart, to rebuild. One of which is they can actually...
I'm assuming... Cliff just laid his head onto the microphone like, there's nothing I could do with that.
No, there's nowhere
I'm trying to make a point
There's
here.
nowhere I can go.
Yeah,
well,
so
you're kind of...
They gave him a member.
You're kind of right, because they gave him wood. They gave him... they gave him balsa wood bones. Which apparently,
one more
time? I think it was balsa wood. They give some sort of wood, not balsa wood. That would be way too thin. But it was a type of
balls
wood.
And wood is what I said. So not too far off.
It was a type of wood that apparently has a similar tensile strength to human bone, so they can actually in their testing see what bones would have been broken. Buster's got like features now.
Oh, so he's terrifying.
Yes, and they made him
what he is.
Completely from scratch too, except for the face. They kept the face, which I am a strong supporter of. And otherwise, we got a beautiful, shiny new Buster.
His face is the scariest part.
Yeah.
Because it's been all like blowed up. I mean, like it has seen some damage.
Yes.
For sure.
I love it. There's a whole argument in the episode about whether or not to keep the face, and I was strongly pro face.
Well, obviously I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, check it out.
Because it's not. Gosh, the only thing I do wish that there were some kind of I don't know, maybe some almost like a radio show format, but that you can listen to on your phone, where it like recaps entire episodes for you. I think that would be real special.
Yeah,
but I don't know where I could find access to such a thing.
I think it would catch on. I'd listen to that.
I would try that at home.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm turning in my resignation. This is my 2 weeks notice.
That's your way of saying you're just going to be a fan.
I'm just, yeah. I'm transitioning into a fan, which I wasn't before. I hated this thing. I hated it. But now, the kids are all right.
The final test on this thing, there's not a lot that ends up happening, but it is very satisfying. Like I said, the machine works. It just does not actually cause any lift because the way it's made just is in defiance of physics and God and everything else you can possibly imagine. There's just no way this thing's actually going to work. Jamie does get on it and give it a try because you have to.
Yeah.
Wonderful visual seeing Jamie on the flying machine. But of course,
dude, his mustache just going nuts.
It's so good. So, and that's again, they know when to pick the right host to put in the situation. Jamie was the perfect. I'm sure Adam got on it too off camera, but perfect pick to use all the Jamie footage in the episode. So good.
It's great, and I also feel like there are going to be a ton of clips from this one that are going to be used in future episodes. This is definitely part of the reel now.
And I wonder if it comes back. I wonder if, to your point about testing other ways to do it, I could see them doing a revisit that's not necessarily a revisit of this build, but is, okay, we asked the question, now what would it take? What if we went out and did our own designs, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, I would very much like to see their particular skill sets. And I've actually changed my mind a little. I wouldn't want it to be a competition because I enjoyed how well they worked together.
Yeah.
I just want to see them break the script. That's it.
Do their own thing.
I just wanted to see them not follow this nonsense, put their heads together, come up with something. And then I want to see Jamie Heineman zooming over the rooftops of San Francisco. That's all I want. He could be there now. We don't know.
We don't know. Nobody knows. Maybe that's how
it's foggy there.
Maybe that's how he gets to Finland, you know? That's how he gets to his professorship in Finland. He just...
Maybe that's... Oh, man. If your professor showed up in a jetpack...
Just lands on the quad or whatever.
94. Yeah. Like, oh, man. I'm listening to that guy for sure.
But this myth in the end was busted. A great build. Really fun to watch. Obviously, it was never going to work, but maybe we'll see it again. That would be cool.
Fingers crossed.
What are we building?
We're building a jetpack. Personal jetpack.
Right.
Oh, we're either going to die or we're going to fly.
Well, let's hope you fly. Yeah.
Myth 2, Pyramid Power.
Yeah.
This is just fun.
Yeah.
This is just fun.
It's great.
You can't take it seriously, and they don't, and that's what makes it great. The basic question, let me get the question out for everyone so that they can contemplate the gravity of, do the pyramids have magical mathematical properties? So the question is there something about the shape of a pyramid that has a magical, the angles and the geometry lines up in such a way that it connects to the universe, and you can do incredible things like preserving milk or keeping razors sharp, which are two entirely disparate things that I don't know why they would possibly ever be thought of in the same breath, but that is what this is all about. I think Adam describes it best. He calls it an oogy boogy myth.
And he is so right.
It's so right.
This is the most oogie boogie myth that they have done.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can't... When the word magical is in the description of the thing, I think we got all we need.
You texted me. When you hit this myth, you immediately were like, what?
I'm like, all right, we got dark side over here looking for the anti-life equation. What do you mean a magical mathematical theorem? What do you mean by that? I don't think that those words belong together in any context.
I was
outside of a comic book.
I was trying to think of what are the other ones like this that they've done, and the closest I can really think of is what was it called? The not the Ancient Battery, because that one had something to it. Oh, Talking to Plants, but that one actually turned out to have science behind it.
Yeah.
So this is the most just freak show type thing that they've done, and I'm glad. I like that they did it. It seems like Adam is kind of frustrated because it's not really a hard science myth. I think if you strike the right tone and you're not actually supporting this ridiculous nonsense, I'm fine with it.
I'm totally fine with it because I think what they're able to show through their questioning is how deeply unscientific it is.
Exactly.
Like they say that outright, but you really get a feel for that when we meet the Triangulad himself.
I cannot
True
wait.
believer, Jerry Tomlinson. And the questions they ask him are great, where they're doing everything they can to bring sense to this nonsense. And he just is not having it. Does it have to do with the materials? Yes. Oh, I mean, no. No, it doesn't. No, it's the shape.
Oh, I pulled the clip.
Is it
Let
her rip.
It is longer than we typically play on the show, but I had to. And just to set this up, when they cut to this man, he is wearing a brass pyramid on his head. Not a hat.
He's wearing a triangle, Cliff.
He's wearing
a triangle.
It's a triangle. It looks like a triangle, like an instrument, ting, ting, ting triangle. But it's like 3D, and he's wearing it on his head. And they start interviewing him, and they ask him a very simple question, which is, does the material the pyramid is made from matter? Does that have any difference on the outcome? And his response, I'm just going to play it.
Copper is a real cool metal, but it's supposed to work. Yeah, maybe.
So I've.
But excuse me. No. I've been told that's not true because you can do it. Just the shape is maybe what you use has some effect, but I think it's primarily the shape.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. And say
he's high as a kite.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, right.
I'm sorry if that's controversial. I'm sorry.
Right.
But I think he might be full of it.
Cliff, how can you say that of someone that changed his answer 3 times in under 30 seconds? How can you say that?
3 times in the same sentence.
He goes from, yes, copper is cool, which I'm fairly certain that he means that it has like cooling properties. But I like to imagine he just is off on a tangent where he's like, it's actually sick.
It's a cool
copper
metal.
Like
I think that's what he meant.
The coolest metal.
Because he starts it by saying it has properties that it's cool. It just goes to like, I can't explain it. Oh, it's kicking in. I can't explain this. It's really neat. I don't know what to tell you.
He goes from, yes, must be copper.
Must be.
Maybe must be copper. No, actually, no. I just remembered just now. I remembered
somebody
about
told
this thing
me
on which I am an expert. That someone told me that the material doesn't matter. What do you mean someone told you? You're the guy. You're the guy, Mr. Tomlinson. We came to you. You are Triangulad. In the flesh. In the triangle. And you're not sure? If not you, who? Who Triangulad? Answer me, damn it.
I think in our rogues gallery of Mythbusters side characters who have become classic like comic book characters, he is our most Batman 66. He is definitely Bookworm.
1000%.
Or somebody like that who just shows
Egghead.
up. Yes.
Just
completely ludicrous and ineffectual. And I love that they used this on the show. They included it. To his face, they, as you said, they're very respectful. They are trying in the interview to give him a platform to the best of their ability, and he can't do it. And they left it in and just mocked the hell out of it. And I am A-okay with that.
I'm A-okay with it because you cannot come to a televised interview that stoned and expect me to not clown on you a bit. What do you want? What do you want? Because no one just sounds like that.
I know.
That's not a normal tone of talking. It's very slow and kind of, you got a little bit of the surfer bro in it, but I think the slowness with which I'm realizing, no, this other thing, that's a dead giveaway, man.
Well, it's
That is
also
a dead giveaway.
It's almost like, because he very quickly says yes in that clip. He's very quick, like, yeah. And then it's almost like he has a moment of like, that sounds crazy. And he like tries to walk back the crazy, but he does not have the faculties to pull it off.
See, that what it felt like to me is that he didn't hear the question at all. Like it entered his ears and it was in processing, and he was just talking about a metal that he thought was cool. Then it registers and he's like, "Oh, let me answer that." No, it does. Actually, my buddy told me who's into, well, he's more into cubes, but the principles apply, of course. Look, I understand, and I am fully on board with just loving the pyramids.
Yeah.
I will never knock in. I feel so strongly about the pyramids that I would argue one of the biggest gripes I have with Michael Bay's Transformers movies, of which there are plenty, is that they casually destroy the pyramids.
Yeah.
I think that's BS. I'm not on board with that. I just, that's lame to me. I don't want to see that get blown up. Those things are awesome. What are you talking about? So I fully understand and appreciate and accept people being obsessed with the pyramids. They're wild.
Yeah.
They're just nutty. But to take it to this level, to say, I like that so much, I'm going to wear it. I'm going to put it on right on the dome, right on my little noggin head, and I'm going to go hit the town in my triangle, dude. Come on.
And the thing with this one is, I don't even understand. They don't go into the science really because you can't. There is none. Right?
There's no science to go into.
It's not like the ancient battery or other stuff that we've seen that actually does have some kind of, purpose, and you could extrapolate on what it would have been used for or whatever. Yeah. I don't even understand, like, where you can get to this idea. What is it even supposed to, like, at least pseudoscience sometimes has a base in science. It has like a toe in the water to go like, oh no, this is physics just applied weirdly, or this
to sound credible.
Exactly. This is just like, no. Your milk won't go bad. And it's like,
no, you triangle and then it good.
Yeah. Triangle good.
That's it. What else do you need?
It's breathtaking. It's breathtaking, and their tests in this end up being an milk, as we mentioned, a razor, as we mentioned, an apple split in half, and a flower split in half, and they're going to put some under these copper, because it's a real cool metal, these copper pyramids.
I've heard that
they have made that are supposed to have the exact same proportions as the pyramid in Giza, and it's supposed to all this other stuff. They put half inside the pyramid, half outside, and they're just going to see what happens, which is a very basic test, and it's all you would ever need to do to know. No.
There's not. I also would very much like to know who wrote the book Pyramid Power.
Because they do show that at one point in the episode.
They do. Like, they specifically brought it out to like reference. All right, let's see. Interesting. It's not the Triangulad.
That would have,
oddly enough,
that would have made a lot of sense.
It would have made a lot of sense. But also, I think he would have been a little more sure of it if he did it. But this definitely does come at a time. Like, I definitely noticed that based on when it looked like the book came out.
Yeah.
It looked like this was around the same time as like Chariot of the Gods.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
things
yeah.
like that. So like that's on the brain. That's in the general zeitgeist of the time.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see. If I had to guess, I would just say that the Triangulad is he's just kind of a general new age guy and really like stuck to this one, and then the rest of the conspiracy theory folks moved on to something else, like the Baghdad battery that was maybe a little more scientifically compelling, even if it's not necessarily true. And he just stuck on the triangle. He's like, well, I already bought it. Like, what? You want me to return? I can't return this. I don't know where it came from. It showed up one day, and I've been wearing it ever since.
Do you know how hard it is to sell a little copper pyramid hat? I can't get rid of this thing.
Apparently not very if they can sell one for $40. Did you catch that?
Yeah, it was a $40 kit on the internet. Why do you need a kit?
In 2005.
Yeah.
That's too much.
I
That's too much for a handful of copper rods.
Yes.
And little joints. That's too much.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it might be a scam.
What are you talking about?
I know. I'm sorry. I hate to speak the hard truths, but
You think the Triangulad would lie to us like that? You're out of your mind. Look at him. Look at him. If that's not the face of a man that I can trust underneath a triangle, I don't know what is. I don't know what is.
I kind of want to believe that they backed into this episode because somebody knew him. It was like somebody's uncle, and they were like,
Yeah.
guys, if we want some entertaining television, I got a guy that we'll put on camera. We got to come up with one of those myths around it, but I got the
They
dude.
made it up. They made up all the lore around it to just justify getting Tomlinson in there.
Exactly.
Letting him do his thing.
I got to say,
Letting him do what he does best. Do you think anybody is getting really annoyed right now with the fact that I keep saying triangle instead of pyramid? I hope not, but it's the internet. Who
it's
knows?
worth it for Triangulad. I mean,
Thank you.
it's worth it.
I can't pyramid. There's nothing there. I can't think of anything.
I will say, I think that he already is high on the list. Well, already high. That much
Well,
is
he's
true.
already high. That much is. Come on. But he's already stony baloney. He just zonked out of his zoy, dude.
He's quite far on the top of the list for favorite side characters this season. When we do our breakdown,
He's at the top of the pyramid.
he's at the top of the pyramid, man. When we do our breakdown at the end of the season, it's going to be hard to beat Jerry Tomlinson for completely different reasons than the Wolf last year. But
Well, the wolf is
Calling
like
it
good
now.
at his job.
exactly
You
that's what I'm
know?
saying. Like totally
like-
the opposite of this guy. But our sheer
Like,
entertainment.
we called you in as an expert of this nonsense, and you don't even know
Your own
the
nonsense.
your own nonsense, your own self-invented nonsense. You can't even lay it out. Wonderful. No notes, really.
On the actual substance, for lack of a better word, with this myth, I had a rare.
Was there an actual myth? I just got so enamored with this guy. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I had one rare storytelling note for the show. I thought
goodness.
they missed a beat, or not missed a beat, but misused a beat, which is when they do their initial tests, they leave everything out for 15 days, and the initial result is, of course, everything is still rotting within the pyramids, except for the apple. The half of apple that was outside of the pyramid had rotted much more than the one in the pyramid.
Perhaps we have spoken too soon.
Well, exactly. That's the idea that they want to get across, is this moment of like, wait a minute, that's okay. That we weren't taking this seriously, and then this thing happened. But they totally telegraphed it earlier when Tori is cutting the apple on the like a bandsaw table saw thing, and Robert Lee says, "Oh, it's the super sterile table saw," and I immediately made a note of, "Oh, that's going to come back," and then it did. I feel like they should have pulled that out. I would have left that out of the edit and just let it get there, and then you could have shown him cutting it on the saw, but I thought the narration was too much and kind of gave it away, because it was an interesting moment when you see those two apples side by side, and one of them is like black and gone, and the other one is, it's rotting, but it's not nearly as bad. It's certainly a slower progression, and you're like, huh. And like, but I thought if they had not included that one bit of VO, it probably would have actually given me a moment of, wait a minute. Like, I don't think this is legit, but something has to be going on. But I felt like they missed that beat. Rare note
they
for
gave
me
up
for this
the
show.
trick. They gave up the trick too quickly.
Yeah. They showed their hand.
Like, yes. And that it definitely, they still toyed a little bit with the, is it?
Yeah, well, they really leaned in for a minute.
But I have a response, because I thought that too. I actually specifically remember writing down why is like I just wrote sterile and then started, and then sure enough it came back. I think that they didn't want to do that. I think that, and this is purely based on speculation, largely rooted in how dismissive Adam is of this.
Yeah.
But I really think that they didn't want to abuse our trust.
Yeah.
They didn't want to give you even a moment of, is this woohoo real? Because that would kind of undermine the trust that we've placed in them with a lot of this other stuff. If they had allowed us to think that, from a storytelling perspective, I'm with you completely. That would have been a much better trick. But the more that I thought about it, the more I was like, I can see why they didn't. Because they understand that they have built up trust to this point, and that we're expecting them to give it to us relatively straight, and to even allow for the idea that maybe this is working. I think it would probably go against their hesitation to even touch this to begin with. Like, I think they just had to treat it as a joke, and had to be something that whether or not they really felt this way, it is portrayed as like a, are we going to get, like, when is this one over? This stupid nonsense. Fine, we'll do it since you keep asking, but we're not happy about it,
that is a really, really good point. And I think I would accept that outright had they not actually spent some time. They have Carrie go back to Jamie, and Jamie's like, well, this is busted, right? And she's like, well, we don't know. They actually tried to lean into it a little bit, and it's just that one line of VO. Either way, I think would have been fine. Like, right? Like, you keep the VO in so the audience is kind of up to speed and they see it happen, and there's like a joking, oh, what's this? But everybody already knows, and it's like, okay, they're gonna have to do this again, and they're gonna prove it wrong, and they're gonna be very definitive and scientific about it. But in that case, don't build the tension. If it felt like they were trying to build tension that they had already cut out from underneath themselves, and it was again not a huge thing, but like just a rare structural little diversion for them that I thought was interesting. But to your point,
that's fair.
But to your point, I think that is absolutely the right way to go about it. I mean, I think the idea that we don't want to even create the specter that there could be anything to this, which is also why I do think it's kind of it's helpful that they like sterilize the apples and they put them under a UV light, and they actually go very scientific, at least by Mythbusters shop standards, very scientific for the final test, which definitively proves that of course there's nothing to this. So I did like where that escalation went in the end. To your point.
I did too. I also want to just briefly take a step back and talk about how much I enjoy the fact that the show is like that. Because we know at the end of the day, entertainment is the point. However, there is a way to entertain responsibly.
Yeah.
Particularly when you were talking about scientific questions. And I think that this show does it particularly well given the landscape of the time. I mean, this at some point, it's probably not just yet, but at some point, this show is on concurrently with Ancient Aliens on the History Channel.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I just can't say how much I respect the fact that yes, they're looking to entertain you, but at the end of the day, they're going to do everything they can to make sure that they're not lying to you.
Yeah.
And that is not most television shows' top priority. So I really tip my hat to them for that. That's just it's kind of special, unfortunately.
Well,
like I wish it were more pervasive, but
and because I completely agree with you, that is another one of those secret sauce elements to Mythbusters. And it's something that I feel like we have seen come into the ethos of the show as it has gone on. Because now if we think back to the pilots, they are a little bit more, I mean, even as much as we love her and miss her on the show, even Heather Joseph Witham's presence, the way she was shot, the kind of the way they would set that up was a bit of, ooh, what is this? You know, what is this that we're going into? We're now, not frankly that far into the show. We're now in this very much, no, this is a science show, and we're going to be aggressive in the way that we present science, talk about science, address these issues. We have seen that develop, and you're right, at this point in the show, that's what it is. Like, it has really made that transition very firmly, and I appreciate it too. I appreciate that was clearly something they thought about, clearly something that they, that they spent a lot of time and a lot of intention trying to do. And it's honestly why I think there's a world in which you could say, well, if you're trying to do a hard science kind of thing, why would you even do this pyramid bull crap, right? Which I think is kind of what Adam's point of view seems to be, or at least is the way he's presenting in the episode.
right.
I think the fact that they do this and they put it to you said this earlier, they put it through that much rigor is even better. I think that it's not just we're going to steer around the stuff. No, we're going to show you why this doesn't actually line up. We're going to make you see in some really entertaining television just how ridiculous this is. That's even more powerful than just going off and doing your science thing and leaving the oogie boogie to the side.
Yeah, we're going to show you the problems with this, even in theory, before we even get down to the brass tacks of the thing. All of that said, the myth was confirmed. It actually did everything that it said that it was going to.
It did.
The razor was sharper. The apple didn't rot. We can't figure it out. It's a whole new science. We need to invest in it. I'm very scared. Please help me triangulate.
When we should have realized that the myth was busted? This whole thing is about how pyramids can preserve things. That guy was wearing one on his head. It did not preserve his brain one bit.
Yes! Yes!
Come on.
Yes, dude.
Why didn't we see this coming from the very beginning?
Oh, all of the brain damage is still fully intact.
Fully intact.
None of that has
Didn't
been
help
healed
him
or
one
helped.
bit.
Not at all. Not at all. He received no transmissions.
Have we ever had a myth busted by the presence of a human? just
By
like his
just seeing
existence.
another guy.
His
and being
existence
like,
busts the myth.
well, it's bunk, because he exists, and therefore this cannot. Anyway, team, on to the next myth.
Yeah. What are we blowing up next week?
That's. Oh, excellent, Mr. Bumgardner. What a point.
Well,
What a point.
of course, this was busted as it was always destined to be. But I just mentioned next week, and I am very, very excited. Next week is a very special week on Try This at Home and in the history of Mythbusters. It is an episode that may not immediately bring any specific memories to mind. It's called Killer Brace Position, but it is the debut
Sounds sexy.
of one Grant Imahara.
Oh!
We are about to enter the Grant era of Mythbusters, and I am so excited. We actually have something special.
Was Scotty
planned.
in this episode?
Yes, she was in this one.
Okay.
She was. I think that's a good question. Actually, you say that, and I was my reaction was yes, but with the pyramids, I don't remember.
I don't think she was.
That's an interesting point.
But I would be very interested to see if there's any overlap there.
Yeah. I don't
Because
know.
I don't recall any.
No.
I mean, I very much enjoyed her presence in this season, but I do not remember her
And that's actually
from my initial viewing.
well, that's actually a great point.
And apparently now as well.
Because I think we are one way or another, we are getting to the end of the Scotty Chapman era on Mythbusters, and we should just say she's been awesome. Like
She's been fantastic.
I remembered her on the show. I definitely remember that she was there, and I remembered like her skills as a welder and how that plays into things. Like her contribution absolutely was locked in my mind. But because she's only on like half a season, there's so much more of the show without her. I had forgotten. I always kind of had this thing in my mind of like, oh, maybe it just wasn't. I mean, we don't know why she left the show. Maybe it wasn't her thing. But I was like, maybe they needed something different. She's great. I think she could have fully gone to the end of the show had she wanted to, because I mean, in terms of what we saw on camera, she was awesome at this. So it is actually, it is a little bit bittersweet that we're reaching the end of the Scotty era as we begin the Grant Imahara era. But
Era. The dawn of a new age.
we are so excited. We have some very special stuff planned for next week to mark this. This is kind of the final first appearance that we have of one of the hosts, at least, and this kind of character on the show. So we have some stuff planned to mark that and to remember Grant and his contributions to the show. We will talk about those next week. So be sure to watch that episode and then come on back. And while you're out there looking around on the internet, be sure to drop us a rating and a review wherever you listen to the show. It makes a huge, huge difference in how we're able to get the show out to people. But we are excited. We're excited to enter a new era next week. We hope that you guys will join us. But until then, thanks for listening.
Bye-bye, bubbies.
Try This at Home is produced by Slugline Media. The show is written, hosted, edited, and shot onto the internet by Cliff Bumgardner and Harrison Stewart. Our music is by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. You can follow the show on Instagram @TryThisPod or email us trythisathomepod@gmail.com.